Hey, everybody. It's great to see you. Let me adjust this. Wow, some new faces, people I've never met. That's crazy. So for those who don't know me, I'm Michael Carlin. Um, and between myself and Jennifer Valtos, who everybody knows, our director of training, and some of the other folks on the call, we are going to walk you through some updates. And so I think today, because we have such a big group and we are growing so wonderfully, what I think we'll do is, instead of going around and introducing ourselves, let's do it in the chat box. So if you could just put your name, maybe where you are in training in terms of, are you a facilitator in training? Are you a level 2, et cetera? And then maybe where you are in the world. And we can start with that. Does that sound good, Jennifer?
Yep, that's what I had on my list.
Okay. Wow, so lovely to see everybody. Jennifer, do you want to get us kicked off and kind of keep us on track in terms of the agenda?
I can certainly do that, or at least try. So I'm loving seeing all the things pop up in the chat box. This is going to be exciting. I'm thrilled to see some faces I haven't seen in a while. I won't call anybody out specifically, but I think you know who I'm talking to. So it's really nice to see all the faces. I know that because we change the time every month to try to accommodate different time zones around the world, I know it's a challenge. So I do hope that many of you are taking advantage of the fact that we do record these calls and we do post them on the CIT website, so that if you miss a particular call, you can watch the recording. And we also try to post a couple of just notes about what we talked about, so that you know what the content of the call was, so that you're not completely blind, clueless when you're looking at the video going, oh, what did we talk about in August? Well, hopefully there's a couple of notes that'll tell you what we talked about. And so just as quick reminders, so the most updated PowerPoints that you will find for when you are facilitating the skills can be found on the website, on the CIT website. You do need to be logged in to the site in order to be able to access that information. We have a lot of facilitators in training that just started their program in the last 2 weeks. So I'm really excited to see all of you. I know that there have been some questions about credentials. So if you have any trouble accessing the system, please just email us at info@compassionateintegrity.org, and Kristen and I will make sure that we help you get logged in and are able to access what you need to access when you need to access it. The next, and I'm going to call it a significant update, we have completely revised our facilitator in training program. As some of the folks on this call could tell you, we are launching a new program on a new platform, and it is a pilot program. Thank goodness, because I love the word pilot, because it allows us to make mistakes and learn from them with the grace and compassion of the people who are in the program, providing us with guidance and feedback. So that has been really nice. We're 2 weeks into that. And the short version of that, for those of you who have not heard about or seen any of the information about the new program, the short version is that it is now what we're calling a 2-quarter program. Life University operates on the quarter system. And so for our ease on campus, even though I'm not on campus, it's being able to use that same calendar. And so we've got a group of participants who are going through their practice groups right now. And in the practice groups, what they have the opportunity to do is to engage more with the material and the information, and also have an opportunity to facilitate in smaller bite-sized pieces throughout the course of those 8, 9, 10 weeks, so that they're being exposed to material in all 10 of the skills, learning how to facilitate not only content, but also the group activities and the contemplative practices, so that you have that exposure to all the different pieces of CIT and how it should be facilitated, or how it could be facilitated, so that the first time you're facilitating an entire skill to your group, you've already had some of that exposure and some of that knowledge, so that hopefully we're taking away some of the nerves that come with facilitating to a group of people that you've never met before, for the first time, and you are responsible for 2 hours or an hour and a half worth of content. So it's so far 2 weeks into the program. We have some growing pains because, of course, it's a new platform and it's a new program. So making sure that everybody is up to speed with Sutra and how to access the materials on the CIT website. We've been going back and forth, but there's been a lot of, so far, wonderful conversation surrounding some of the challenges that some of our facilitators have expressed before, including what are the contemplative practices? How many hours do I have to do? Where do I find them? What's a CE? How do I write one? Where do I put that in the system? So some of the challenges that some of our previous facilitators have experienced and expressed to us, hey, you know, we could probably do this better for future folks. Woo, we listen. And so we're providing our new folks with the opportunity to engage more and have more opportunities for learning along the way before they are moving out and facilitating a CIT course on their own or with a colleague. So I'm really excited about that. I'll ask if Kristen or Michael, I'm not sure who else is on the call because I've got multiple screens right now, but if any of the other facilitators or practice group leaders, I thought I saw Renee, anybody has anything else that you would like to share about the new program?
One thing is we try to live the mantra of progress, not perfection. And so just as we took in a lot of people's feedback on the way we used to do facilitator training, we're trying to build that into this new form of facilitator training and just continue to progress with that. So as people who are in the facilitator training now see it and say, hey, we could still improve it this way and that way, we're going to take that feedback and continue to hope to improve the course and make people more and more comfortable with getting out there and facilitating afterwards. I also, you might have already said this, Jennifer, I was checking the chat, but several people on this call jumped in and volunteered to help kind of reimagine what that is all about, what facilitator training was all about. Renee, who is there somewhere behind my camera, Renee Athe, she was incredibly instrumental in helping us rethink this whole practice group idea. Carolyn Fellner, who's on here somewhere, I'll say more about her in a second, but was critical in not only reimagining it, but helping us with the platform. Anya Peltzer-Brenner, who I don't know if she's on the call or not, in Berlin, was very helpful in helping us think about it, as well as Rebecca Koch, and of course, Kristen, Jennifer, and I know anytime you put that out there, you start to forget people. So I hope I didn't forget anyone, but if I did, Jennifer will have my back, I'm sure. But anyway, it was truly a beautiful thing to behold, because the team is growing, as you can see on the screen, but this core team just kind of created this thing. It seemed like it was total chaos at times. And I think what we have now is really great. And again, we'll continue to improve.
And there were two folks that I see on the call right now that were in our most recent practice, or our most recent facilitator training, Mary Catherine and Suzanne, who also went out of their way to make sure that we had additional feedback from the folks who were in it right then and there. So
and Donna's on the call too, I see.
Yeah, Donna's, she was on my screen, now she's gone now, but there she is. So, you know, I love being able to have to scroll between multiple screens. I have two monitors, so I have information up on one and people up on the other, but it's nice to still have to be able to scroll through two levels of people. We are also starting, just as an FYI, our next course with the Charter for Compassion. The fall course starts the week of September 13th. We have 2 cohorts starting that week, that day actually. We have one from 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern, and that's going to be facilitated by Michaela and Anya. Michaela's in London, Anya is in Berlin. And our Wednesday 7 to 9 cohort is going p.m. Eastern. We jokingly refer to that in our core group as the center of the world, for those of you who don't currently live in the Eastern time zone. That's just putting it out there. The 7 to 9 cohort is going to be facilitated by Mohammed and Renee. And I just checked my email that Cricket has also agreed to step in and help to work with that 7 to 9 p.m. cohort. And so if you see their faces on the screens, wave, say hi, send them a private chat, because they're going to be facilitating the courses for the upcoming session with the charter. So really looking forward to that. And I see some faces on the call that I haven't seen in a while, which I was jokingly referring to earlier, but I also see some FITs who are still in progress. And I will just tell you that if you have, because this is always a question, if you have entered all of your CEs, and when you go into the system and they are listed as reviewed, please let us know if you go in and make changes to them, because then we can go back in and revise them. Unfortunately, our system does not allow us to get updates when you make edits and changes. So we have to rely on you to shoot us an email, and that can go to info@, or you can shoot it directly to me, and I'll put my email in the chat box, jvaltos@life.edu, just to let us know, hey, I've updated skills 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9, and then we can go in and make those changes. Because I know there's some of you that are outstanding, and it's probably on my end. So I'm looking at 2 in particular. They're probably on my end, but I just want to make sure that that you've updated what you need to update so that I can go in and make changes to those. And let's see, at this point, I think the agenda I am turning over to you, Michael, and to Carrie, because I do have just some information about alumni calls and our monthly facilitator calls, but everything else is, and I can put those in the chat box. So everything else is you, Sutra, SDL, and platform.
Okie doke. So we are going to update you on the Sutra platform, which is the platform we've been talking about for many months now. Some of you are already very familiar with it because you're doing your facilitator training there. But what we are going to do is hopefully by the end of the week, you will receive an email that is welcoming you into the facilitator circle on Sutra. So in it, we won't have to, as I feel a little bit rushed to try to get through all this material, and I feel like I want to catch up with everybody, and we want to, get to everyone's questions and everything. What we're going to have is, as of this week, we're going to have a space to do that in, so that when we get together once a month, we can deliver certain information, but then we'll have the opportunity to do ongoing conversations and dialogue. So I'm going to talk about that in a second. I also want to update everyone on the self-directed learning course that we're working on with UNESCO. But before I do that, just any quick questions that for the material that we've covered so far. I don't want to, you can also add questions, and we'll try to get to some in the chat, but if you have any questions, you can maybe raise your hand or unmute yourself or something and just toss out a question. Okay, so I don't see anyone's hand raised, so if that is correct, I will move on. I'm going to share my screen, and with the help of Carrie, I'm going to show you some stuff on here. I'll start here actually. Okay, so first of all, I say this just about every time we have a call, which is at some point or another during the call, I'll say something like, oh, we're getting ready to work on this, and we're just trying to figure out how to do it all, but we'll figure it out eventually. And then either on the call, I'll get a private message, or we'll get an email right afterwards from somebody saying, well, I've got some time on my hands, I'd love to help. And we say, are you sure about that? Because it can be like, it's like in the Godfather movie, right? They suck you back in. And that's been the poor fate of several people like Kristen and others on the call who have offered their help and then have gotten into what seems like a full-time job. But in any case, Carrie said, oh, I know how to do platforms. I've done this. This was my career. This is easy. How can I help? And so she has basically single-handedly, we have had a great team to architect these things, and then she makes them manifest. So I wanted to first of all thank Carrie for all that she's done. At some point, I'm going to open it up to her for guidance and to talk a little bit about this. But first of all, I just wanted to share my gratitude. She's over here on my screen, so if she's there on your screen, you should send your gratitude that way. So what we've created, again, Carrie has created largely, is this global CIT facilitator community on Sutra. In a second, I'm going to show you what the page will look like when you get an invite. Hopefully by the end of the week, you will get an invite via email that will say, welcome to the CIT, the global CIT facilitator community. click here to join. And that will take you to a little registration page, which I'll show you. And this will just give us an opportunity to gather some data. What are your interests? Are you an FIT? Are you a level 2? Are you whatever? Where are you interested in working? All those kinds of things. So we can start to begin fitting all the pieces together. But at first, when you come in, every circle is designed in this way on Sutra for the way we've designed it, with a kind of a notices page, where at the top level, we can always say, okay, if there's something we need to get to all facilitators and facilitators in training, let's put it here. You can't post here, but you can ask questions here. So there's a little tag, a little button over here called reflect. So you can always add a reflection, which could be a question about a particular notice or something like that. But this is more about a space for us to send you information. But then within there are what's called circles, and you can kind of see them. This, what Carrie refers to as the elevator. This is a good navigation tool. But you can also just click here on circles, and you'll see that within the general facilitator circle, there is a group discussion, which is just an open space for us to come together and talk and raise issues and discuss. There's a space that we're going to create just for certified facilitators, and this will be kind of where we're going to hold spaces for people who have already been certified and we have to get new information to, or we want to talk about specifically how you're doing in particular courses or stuff like that. That's going to be its own kind of space. And then the facilitator and training community, and this is where folks that are still working on becoming facilitators can both interact with each other, but gain support from others that have already gotten certified. And I'm going to dive into each one of these real quickly. In the CIT facilitator group discussion, there is going to be your major, again, I talked about the space for us all to communicate, but even within that, there's more circles. So the circles within that, what we're thinking about, and this may not be open when we first give this to you, when we first send this out next week, but we want to over time build communities of interest. So for example, if we click on it, and this is again just conceptually right now, we would have circles for different areas of interest where people are interested in, and carceral is a funky word for things related to whether it's mass incarceration or the justice system. We use carceral just because in a lot of ways it's an injustice system, not a justice system. So figuring out the right language on some of these is going to be important. But these are going to be spaces where you can join and communicate with other facilitators that are interested in the same things that you're interested in. And perhaps within each of these circles, like let's just go into science and technology, it's not available there right now, but there's on the right-hand side of any of these circles, there's usually going to be a discussion tab. There could be a discussion tab, a circles tab, and a resources tab. Different circles will be configured different ways, and you'll get the hang of it. But the discussion is self-explanatory. Circles are just are more of these little groups that you can dig into. And then resources is a place for us to share with you things and for you to share with us things. And I'll give you an example of that in a second. But it's basically a place to upload files, share videos, share if someone comes across a great article, they want to share it with others. If we have an article we want to share with you, we can do that. So so within the general whole group, there's going to be a general discussion as well as these kind of topic area discussions. Within the certified facilitator area, here's where you can see like resources, for example. There's no resources on. Carrie's going to tell me where I can show you a different one that'll give you a good example of it. She was showing me earlier. Carrie, why don't you talk a little bit about this one? I don't know I know what you're talking about, Super CEs. Why don't you explain this? Unmute yourself and join the conversation.
So Super CEs is what we discussed actually last month. I think we've discussed it a couple months now. Just basically amazing curricular engagement pieces that could be really wonderful for different communities to help engage with the material. We have such an amazing wealth of wonderful people in CIT who have been creating these wonderful resources. So just to have a space to put that. And then the marketing, the CIT courses, that's twofold. So one thing is to just try to migrate the marketing materials where everyone internally, all of the facilitators have access to it. And there's nothing in there right now. This is more like a demo dream space. And the next is that we'd like to encourage the community created marketing materials to, to start coalescing here, because a lot of you are marketing to educators, or you're marketing to special interest groups, or you're marketing to advocacy groups, or fill in the blank, or healthcare groups. And so just to kind of crowdsource that and create a space where people could put things or could ideate together is the idea here. So that's really just trying to create a more supportive community that really brings all of the amazing just genius that is in everywhere in CIT. It seems like everyone I meet is just like, wow. So and then the facilitator content we're all familiar with from the facilitator dashboard. So just basically to have a space here where literally you just go in and you go into this CIT facilitator circle, and you can just go right to all of these things, and you'll be in your community. So it's, no credentials, things like that. So
great. And then the facilitator in training community, I love this because there's a place here, for example, where first of all, communities that have taken courses together. So like we have a cohort now of about 38 folks that are in this August training that will hopefully carry forward into the new year as CIT facilitators. And so the idea would be to continue those groups to the extent that they want to continue to have a space as a cohort to continue forward and practice together and deepen their understanding together. We can do that. And then this FIT Curricular Engagements Fast Track is a place where folks that have not gotten their CEs done and feel like they're struggling with that can join into that conversation and get help from their colleagues, right? So they can say, hey, I just can't figure out a good CE for calming body and mind. Would anyone mind looking at this one and posting it? And there can be more senior facilitators in that group, as well as just your peers that can kind of catch people up. So we find that some people do get snagged on getting their CEs done. So this would be a community space where people could go in, share with each other, and kind of motivate each other. It may feel a little overwhelming at first because it seems that way, but the more, and maybe the folks that are in facilitator training now can comment on this, I find that the more I play around with it, the more I'm in the space, the more it starts to make sense to me. And the nice thing is that the founders of Sutra are completely 100% in alignment with us in terms of what they want to see the world become. And so they are incredibly responsive to us. And as a matter of fact, Carrie speaks to the founder, Lorenz, on a regular basis and is like, hey, we're trying to do facilitator training and we're having this issue. Can you help us with this? And it's like the next morning, it's like the system has already changed to accommodate that. So it seems overwhelming, but it's constantly changing and it's very responsive to our needs. So if there are things that you're playing with in there and you find that they're clunky or they're difficult or you would like to see an improvement, that we have access to some resources to help with that. The last thing I'll say on this is that before I show you the registration page is just that, actually I'll say two things. The first is we're going to start small. A lot of what you see may not be available right out of the gate, but what we want is for people to jump in there, start communicating, start sharing. We may move things around as we see what should be at what level and in the hierarchy and all of that. And so things will be still shifting, but we figured we'd err on the side of getting this out there. And so we're going to do that, and we're just going to kind of stumble forward until we figure it out. But I think it's better to have the opportunity for us to start talking on a more regular basis and sharing resources. That was one thing. The other thing is that if you'll notice at this level where it says video call over here on the right-hand side, believe it or not, if you go to this circle at the designated time that Jennifer says our next facilitator call is, and you click on video call, it will launch Zoom in the exact right spot. So no more searching emails, figuring out where Zoom links are, it's there. And so I know Kristen and Jennifer have spent about half their life finding Zoom links and sending them to people. So this is a huge improvement.
Michael, if I
Yeah.
can say something else here. So if y'all look at the URL up there, the address, it's just citfacilitators.sutra.co. And so right now you won't be able to enter there, but once we make it that way, literally every time Jennifer posts another announcement for another meeting, it's going to be the first thing you see when you enter here. So anytime you enter this space, it'll be up there for you. And you'll have that post. It'll be a pinned post, so it'll be right at the top, like right front and center for you, and then the video call. So you won't have to be searching through your emails looking for the details.
Great. And then the last email address I'm going to share with you is we now have a Sutra at Compassionate Integrity, if I spelled that right, .org email address. And as of right now, that gets it to Carrie, me, Jennifer, and Kristen, I believe. But that way we can change depending on how things change in the future. So if you have questions about it, I mean, we're not technical support for Sutra, but we can help. And then in particular, if you have things about the way we've set this up that you would like to see different or added, or hey, we should add a circle on this or that or the other thing, we want to hear from you and continue to make it better.
And several, I'll just say that several people have reached out to me just on this messaging, just chatting right now privately, talking about how they're already on Sutra. So if that's the case, please email Sutra and let's have a meeting and talk about how we can integrate all these things and collaborate together. It's such a beautiful platform for that type of collaboration. So absolutely, just email that Sutra and say, I'm interested in collaborating. And
yeah, I mean, one of the cool things about Sutra is if we have, I mean, we're going to create these same kinds of interest groups for the alumni. That's the next, as Carrie's we've already launched the Global Education Network circles. So if you're an educator, hopefully you've either already joined that circle or you've been invited to that circle. And then we're going to have the next one to come will be an alumni circle, and then the September training. When we do the alumni circle, we will start to create those interest groups as well. And what's cool is within Sutra, we can have multiple circles be the parent of one circle. So we could create a dialogue that is alumni and facilitators around education. So we take the education vertical within each of those groups and then point them to one circle, and then it combines their membership and they can talk. So it's really cool what we can do. But okay, so did I share this screen? Let me see, I don't think so. Let me share. There it is. Okay, so when you do come to join the circle, you're going to see a bit of verbiage, and then you'll see this questionnaire I told you about where do you live and what level are you and all that. I just wanted to introduce you to two things. We did add a little consent to participate here, which is very similar to what we've used in the past, but we just want to make sure that people know that there's going to, if they share things, that we expect people to hold them in confidence, unless it's specifically like a resource like, hey, this is something I'd like you to share with your groups, then obviously that's something where permission's been given. But we just want to maintain the integrity of the safe space or safer space that we're trying to create. The other thing is we're starting to toy with some ways that people can help support the ongoing network that we're creating. And so we're going to be creating two different things. One is a sustainability fund, which is just about helping us continue to create new content, continue to pay for things like Sutra, continue to to maintain the whole program. And then there's also going to be a scholarship fund that we're creating, which is in order for us to have funds to be able to grant to you. So as many of you are aware, we have education scholarships that we have, or educational grants, where folks who are out doing courses in educational settings can qualify for $1,000 per course to offset the cost of you actually doing the course yourself. And so we're going to start to, again, try to raise funds in two areas. One will be in the area of the sustainability, and the second is in the area of scholarship. So more to come on that. It's going to link you over to, if you choose to do that, it's going to link you over to the alumni page, which is at Life University. It's a CIT specific page. It won't have that language yet because we haven't finalized that on the back end, but that's something we're working towards. So, any questions before I turn this into something, towards something else?
I wanted to point out there was some discussion on the chat about the educators circle, and that has gone out. Apparently, when Sutra is sending links, if you have a Gmail account, it seems to be going to, if you have update folders, it seems to always go to update folders. So please check your update folders or search your email for the word Sutra, and that should help you out. Because I'm seeing familiar names who are asking these questions, and I'm pretty sure you're on there. So.
Okay. Yes.
I actually had
Suzanne.
questions. Hi, but I
Hi.
put them all in the chat, so I don't know whether there are ones that maybe could be gotten or something. But yeah, just quite a few little things about. Even for example, just one of my last things was, one of the things I love the whole circle thing, but I do feel like sometimes it might create a bit of an in-out group situation. For example, I know that I even felt a bit tentative about joining the educators group because I'm not officially a teacher, but then I thought, you know what, I am a teacher. I teach my kids.
Absolutely.
So I do think that maybe if there's some way that we can obviously emphasize that these are not exclusive groups. And also the ability to be able to share information. I mean, and I know that you're saying that there's the big discussion group that goes over all the circles, but I also know what it's like when, you know, you're in your own little group and you're discussing things and you might sort of forget about the fact that, hey, other people might find this really interesting, and then how to get that information out. So I don't know how to get it back out again without people actually just thinking that way, but I thought that was something maybe important to discuss.
Suzanne, that's a great point. And the reason why Sutra is set up the way it is that there are going to be very specific areas where people, you know, are discreet. Like if you're not a facilitator, you can't be in the facilitator circle, but any facilitator within the facilitator circles can go to any of those special interest groups or create your own. So that the idea is that this becomes like truly a community space for Sutra. And so there will only be, Michael, if I can share my screen, I feel like I need to go back to just a high level, just a breakdown. I kind of did this last week, I think, but
can you share it?
Just to explain, so the way that Sutra works, if you think about walking down a street in a city, there are a bunch of buildings, right? And maybe on Tuesday you go to book club here, and then maybe on Wednesday you go to a spaghetti dinner over there, and maybe you have this amazing course on Thursday nights in this building. And those buildings correspond to these circles. So if you were to enter the whole building for compassion and integrity training, that would include all of our level 1 facilitator training, our global network, our online training, and eventually, and then obviously we've got our global facilitator community here. And so you can consider that what Michael was showing you basically like a floor in that building. And that's why I call this area on the left the elevator, because it's just a quick way to get between floors. And if you were to go to that floor, Suzanne, then inside of that, there are going to be a bunch of auditoriums. There's a huge auditorium, obviously. There's an area with a notice board, of course, which Michael showed us, which CIT will control. But other than that, there are just going to be rooms. There are going to be rooms for the facilitators only. There are going to be rooms for facilitators in training only. But there are also going to be rooms that people set up together because they want to commune. And the wonderful thing about Sutra is you can move the walls. You can make a room with some amazing people who happen to have the same environmental sustainability interests that you have. And anyone can join that group. And we want to make that sense of community available.
So Kerry, can I just ask, I love that. I love how you've described that. And can I just ask, just to confirm in my own mind, so the screen that we're looking at right now, I know you're saying like that's the first floor on the building. Will we actually be able, will everyone be able to see all of those?
No, because some of them you won't want to see. Y'all are facilitators or facilitators in training. So you don't need to spend time in all of the course spaces that we need to create to support all of the courses that are happening around the world, for example.
No,
so there'll be transparent, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just thinking, say for example, I'm just using it as an example, the Global Educators Network. If I can't see it there, how do I know that I can even ask to be in it?
Yeah, so
Okay.
yeah, let me answer that. So the way the circles can be set 3 different ways. One is private, which means you have to be invited to join. Which frankly, the like the facilitator circle will be that way, right? Because every person who's ever taken CIT can't just jump into that. So that's like a private circle. Then there is a public circle, which means that anybody if you're in one place in the hierarchy, you can see that circle below you, and then you can just click a join button to join that circle. The third thing is open, and open is the ability to see that circle whether or not you're in the hierarchy at all. And so an example for that would be like the facilitator training circle. We want anyone to be able to see that, or maybe not the facilitator and training circle, which we do, but like the September course circle. We want anyone to see that because we want them to register for it and join into the course. The reason I explain all that is to say that, quite honestly, in the beginning, we're erring on the side of caution. The goal will be to have as many circles public as possible so that anybody within the hierarchy can just join them. But because we're kind of deciding to just throw this thing out there and see how it goes, we also want to make sure that we're doing it in a way that's a little bit cautious. So the idea would be that the Global Educator Network will likely just be public at some point. But right now we're still in this kind of pilot phase to test it or whatever. It's open to anybody because it's open to anybody who's interested in education. You all are all educators by definition because you're facilitators, right? So it's open. It will be open to anyone. It's just a matter of we're trying to take things kind of slowly. But this is important feedback. So to the extent that these kinds of issues arise, reach out to us and say, hey, what's the plan here? And then we can share that. So sometimes it may be that we're just proceeding cautiously rather than in a way that's trying to close anything out. Related to that is the ability to create circles, right? So we want there to be spaces where facilitators can create circles, can add resources, can do all of that. But we also want to make sure that people don't just break the system, right, by accident, which Carrie and I have done many times already. And so we're limiting that capability right now much more than we probably will over time. I'm going to take a question from Mary Catherine, and then I'm going to ask if you'll reserve the rest of the questions for email or something, because I want to get to some other things tonight. Mary Catherine.
No, thank you. The only question I have is for those of us who have been coming to the education circles, even though we weren't in the education cohort, can we just ask to be on there? Because it's not as if we haven't been involved for the last 2 months.
Well, so that's a great example, Mary Catherine. You are somebody who I know for sure was invited, and you never saw it probably.
Right. And I don't have I didn't have a Gmail account to send it to, so it didn't get lost in Gmail.
Okay, so I'll probably just go ahead and add you to that circle as opposed to making you go through any hoops. But this is one of the things that we're trying to figure out is why people that we figured would definitely be in certain circles chose not to be in them yet. And it's likely because they're just not seeing it.
And I'd like to make one more point, and that is pleased to realize that, so the survey is really what kind of gets you into the group. So a lot of people think that if they're just somewhere along the survey that they're already in. But just to be clear, that just puts you in kind of a pending category from our perspective, and you're not actually in the circle. So you won't actually be able to take advantage of those features until you actually finish the survey. That's all. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Okay. Wonderful. So the next thing I wanted to just update everyone on, and hopefully I'm going to see everyone on Sutra soon. So we'll keep this conversation going soon. We don't have to wait a month for this. We'll also be posting our links to our calls there too. Now let me go back to another screen I want to share. So as many of you know, we've talked a lot about this self-directed learning course that we're working on. We're working on it in collaboration with UNESCO's Mahatma Gandhi Institute for Education and Peace. We've been doing a lot of great development, but we've had a huge slowdown because of COVID. So we have not been able to record all the videos. There's probably going to be 40 to 50 like 2-minute videos that are going to be part of the course. And we have not been able to record almost all of those. But the good news is that we're cranking that back up now, and we're figuring out ways to work around it. So that's the good news. There's a robust marketing plan that is around releasing this to the world. And remember, the UNESCO target for them, it's 18 to 34-year-olds. But obviously, this is a program that we want to make widely available to everybody. But today, in case you didn't know, today is International Youth Day. And on International Youth Day, what you do is you launch the, I'll show this one. What you do is you launch the Compassionate Integrity Training lesson in social emotional learning as our attempt to create the world's largest lesson in social emotional learning. And so basically what this does is, this is the launch to indicate your interest. Pre-COVID, this was going to be the day that we launched Series 1. We got to change our strategy. So this is the day that we launch registration to come into Skill 1, which will be launched on September 21st, 2020. And I'll play this real briefly just so you guys can get a... Hopefully
We all feel the weight of these extraordinary times. So how do we create a better future, a better world? Compassion. Compassion towards yourself. Compassion towards others. Compassion that helps to change society. Enroll now for Skill 1, Calming Body and Mind from Compassionate Integrity Training. The lesson will take place on September 21st, the United Nations International Day of Peace and the 75th anniversary of the UN. Join the movement, become a change leader, and with compassion, we can make the world a more peaceful place.
So there you have it. And then this little web page, you can register, and it gives you information about what the first lesson is going to be. And it just gives people information about CIT. So it's a little place that you should check out. And I'll maybe someone can post the website. If you go to life.edu/SEL, it will take you to this page. And if you go to life.edu/lesson, you can sign up. Even though it's targeted at 18 to 34-year-olds, we want as many people signed up as possible. So please, you'll have already seen it before then, because we're going to open it to facilitators way before then. But just in case you want to be able to see that, there's also a page just like it on the MGIEP site. So they're also marketing it, and there's a huge kind of rollout plan, social media posts, all this kind of stuff are all in the works. We cobbled this promo video together in about 6 days. The Life University marketing team really came through, and UNESCO actually has a budget to produce some really high production value video clips for promotional purposes, but we're going to do that at the end when we actually have the whole course created. One of the things I want to mention is that in relation to this is that you might have, well, first of all, this is all going to also be, we're going to roll all this out in concert with the Charter for Compassion. And so they're going to be a big partner of ours on this rollout. as some of you who are involved in the charter know, they've been really focused on a webathon, which I believe is August 15th and 16th. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Thank you, Charlie. It's August 15th and 16th. I encourage everybody to tune in and to participate. It's 24 hours worth of programming.
Michael?
Yes.
Yeah, it's the 14th and 15th.
14th and 15th.
Yes,
I knew I was going to be off by some. 14th and
Okay.
15th, and coming up right around the corner. Participate. It obviously goes to a huge cause that we believe in, but because of that, they've been really focused on that, which we appreciate. And as soon as that happens on Monday, Marilyn, who's the executive director that many of you know, and the folks at UNESCO and I are meeting to talk about how we're going to do this as a three-way partnership. So I didn't want to make sure I'd mention that. I'm trying to think if there's any questions. Try to spread the word. We're trying to get as many youth. We have youth networks all over the world that are going to be promoting this. And the goal now is to have Skill 1 by the 21st, Series 1 complete by the World Youth Conference on October 25th, I think. And then, one other thing I'll say about this is that we were very fortunate. The Sustainable Development Goal Action Committee, I think, of the UN, each year at the UN General Assembly highlights 10 projects within UNESCO, within the United Nations, that are promoting the Sustainable Development Goals. And this year, this is one of them. So we're not going to be in New York, which we would have been if it wasn't for COVID, but we're going to be virtual. I don't know what that all means yet, but on September 21st, there's going to be some event that will point people. We're one of those 10 moments that says, hey, this is a project within the UN that is promoting the Sustainable Development Goals. Go support it. So that'll be exciting. We'll get more information to everyone on that. The last thing I'll say about this is just that what we're doing is we're creating all of the modules without videos for now. When we launch, they will have videos. But for now, we're doing them without the videos. What I'm hoping is in the next couple of weeks on Sutra, we can put those modules in there for you guys to start playing with and giving us feedback on. It's hard for us to do that to a general public because without the videos, some things are going to not make any sense. But you guys know all the material, so you'll be able to say, oh yeah, this is where they explain tracking. I already know what that is, so the next screen makes sense to me. So hopefully we're going to start rolling those out on Sutra to you guys to give us feedback in the next few weeks. So yeah, fingers crossed. Any questions on any of that? Suzanne seems like she has a question but doesn't want to ask. Is that?
I feel a bit like I'm the only person asking questions and I don't want everyone to get sick of me. But
you just want me to show off my master facilitator skills on how I keep the person in the room who talks a lot, from not asking so many questions. No, please. The questions you're asking are people
telling me to talk to the hand.
Exactly. No, the questions, at least the last questions you asked, were important, and I think everyone benefited from them.
Well, just directly in relation to what you were just talking about then, because I know that we had, I think it was in possibly the educators meeting that we had with Renee. She was talking about, again, wanting our feedback in regards to things like marketing and what you guys could do for us. And I know that this is probably, you've got so much on your plate at the moment. But I wanted to talk about, for example, with that video, and I noticed, I think Carrie Ann even said that it'd be useful for her to send to her youth group now. Is there a way, for example, that we would be able to get a copy of a video like that, but more suited, but like without the dates and stuff? So then we could just say, this is what we're talking about, but our course is actually going to be a live course and blah, blah, blah. So I guess there's things like that that I was wondering about. And then I was also wondering if, for example, that little snippet that you just said in regards to CIT being highlighted as teaching what the Sustainable Development Goal, even like little snippets like that are so useful for us because they are like little social media highlights that we can put out there and that give us more validity for what we're teaching. And I'm finding that I'm not, because there's not a lot of otherwise we just seem like we're this airy fairy, you know, out there sort of thing.
So I don't know, I don't want to get her deluged with emails, but Cricket has just volunteered to kind of head up marketing for and branding and working with Carrie and Renee and a bunch of us to think about all of those things. We have a marketing department at Life University who have been incredibly supportive. Oh, by the way, speaking of the marketing department at Life University, I don't know if anyone noticed the new CIT logo. Wait for it. So there's the new CIT logo, which plays on the dandelion that it's a little hard to see, but there's a flower in the middle and there's people all around it interconnected and spreading compassion to the world. So it was a long process that many of you were a part of. But anyway, so our marketing department's been incredibly supportive and puts together press releases for us and videos like this and working with us on logos and all that kind of stuff. But they, as much as they are, you know, first of all, they have a whole university to support. We're just a small little teeny thing that they love, but we're just that little small little thing. But they also, as much as they understand CIT, they don't get it from the inside out, right? So I think Cricket was really kind enough to step forward and say, hey, you know, I love what we're doing here, and I've got some skills in this area. I'd love to help think through it. I don't mean to give her a full-time job, but she's offered to give us a little time to think through, and she's already having a huge impact. So the goal will be to kind of harness the energy of the collective, and kind of how do we push this thing forward? And that's exactly the kind of thing we need to hear. What are the resources we need? How do we create videos? The nice thing is, you know, we're able to create a lot of material now with the resources that UNESCO is helping us with, and we can repurpose all of that for other reasons. So thank you, Suzanne. That was a great question.
And I do just want to apologize to everyone for saying that it looked a little bit like coronavirus.
Oh yeah, no, you're not the only one, but we understand that. But this is a whole new. As somebody said that to me, I said coronavirus is temporary, but CIT is forever.
Hey, that's my favorite flower. I knew it was a dandelion straight off.
Thank you, Donna.
Quiet down, Suzanne.
By the way, and even after we created it, it wasn't until after we created it that one day I went to our website and, oh, I lost my connection. Let's see, or not. That's weird. I think our website's down. Anyway, we have dandelions all over the front of our website. Okay, so any other questions on that? Look, see, there it is, right there on the front of our website. It was there in plain sight all the time. Jennifer, anything else we need to cover? Or Kristen, or Renee, Carrie, anything that we still need to cover?
I have no content. I will just share that our next CIT alumni call is on August 25th. So of course, anybody that you've had in a course, any courses that you've taken that you know fellow alumni, please feel free to share. Our alumni calls take place at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, Pacific Time. Suzanne, I don't know the time zone in Tasmania, but it's 7 p.m. in Tasmania. And there's also 7 p.m. in New Delhi, so Indian Standard Time. The European call has been combined with, based on request, has been combined with the Indian time zone call. So Madrid and I have like my cheat sheet over here. Madrid and New Delhi are the time zones that I use because that's where the facilitators are. That'll be at 7 p.m. Indian Standard Time. But any alumni, and any alumni can attend any of the calls. Just because it happens to be in the Pacific time zone does not mean you have to attend. If it works better for you to attend an Eastern or an Indian Standard, please. Any alumni call is open to anybody. We use the same links every time. And our next facilitator call, of course, is September 16th at 10 a.m. Eastern. So we know that will exclude some of you, but again, we do change it every month so that we can try to get as many people on board as possible. I have nothing else.
Wow, we covered everything. Any other final thoughts, comments?
I'd just like to say thank you very much. This is exciting. Well done. It's a lot of work and you're right on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mary Catherine.
Yeah, I second that, Michael. I've just been sitting here with so much energy going through my system, and you've nailed all the places that I spend time volunteering. So to have it all in one place in Sutra is life-changing for me, and I hope for other people as well. And yeah,
Thank you, Donna.
it just feels like a shooting star, friend. That's it. It just feels like this shooting star. So I'm super excited.
That's what we're hoping. We're hoping to build those systems. And speaking of systems of connection and the kind of in and out nature of it, last thing I'll say is, as many of you know, we started a, right when the whole outbreak was kind of heating up, we started weekly resiliency webinars. And those went on in partnership with the charter for a while, and they were supposed to go on, I think, 6 weeks, and then we extended it to like 10 weeks. And then we stopped advertising it, we stopped talking about it. But there was a group of about 20 or 25 folks that just kept showing up, and we kept showing up. And so now we've gone for like, I don't know, 5 months every week on Wednesdays at noon. And we've since moved that group to Sutra as a pilot. And the idea will be, hopefully, that out of our alumni, we can create practice groups like that, and we can have facilitators help facilitate those practice groups. And you know, just once a week, once every other week, whatever it is. And the nice thing about, to Suzanne's point about the kind of the kind of organic nature of it is, a facilitator might just say, hey, I want to start offering a practice group on Thursdays, and offer the practice group, and then gather a group of people who might be interested, and then start meeting and connecting video call and everything else. So there's ongoing dialogue, but a lot more to come, but it's just a cool platform that enables us to do all of that. Thank you, everybody. It is amazing to see everybody, and we will post the recording at some point, and then we will look forward to seeing you next month and sometime in between, hopefully. Bye, everybody.
Thank you guys for all your work.
Thank you, guys.